Panginoong Diyos, aming Ama, ang Diyos ng awa at mapagpatawad. Ang biyaya mo ay tunay at lubos, walang katulad at banal. Ngayong Kapaskuhan at nalalapit na bagong taon, inaalala namin ang tunay na regalo sa sangkatauhan. Pinagkaloob mo ang iyong anak na si Jesus upang kami na naniniwala ay maligtas sa aming mga kasalanan at sa kamatayan. Marami sa amin ang nalulungkot at nangungulila sa mga mahal namin sa buhay na nawala dahil sa COVID virus, sakuna at mga sakit. Pakinggan niyo po ang aming mga panalangin at panaghoy. Kalamayin niyo po ang aming mga puso at bigyan ng lingap at kapayapaan kaming mga naulila at nahihirapan. Naway ang kalooban niyo po ang maghari at maganap. Ikaw po ang tunay at may alam ng bawat kalagayan ng iyong mga anak. Espiritu Santo, o aming Diyos, datnan mo po kaming tapat at naglilingkod sa iyo. Ito ang aming samot panalangin na may buong pusong pagtitiwala sa ngalan ng Ama, Anak, at Espiritu Santo. Amen.
Walang kasing saya ang Paskong Pinoy. Dumaan man ang problema at pandemya, kayang-kayang lampasan basta't nagdadamayan at nagmamahalan.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Tuloy na tuloy pa rin ang Pasko dito sa V81 Radio, Manila.
Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man, ito'y mapapakinggan.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program anchors and producers and do not necessarily reflect the policies and position of this station. Here now is the program for the millennials that will showcase young professionals' worth, aspirations, and successes in doing what they believe is right, progressive, and inclusive. Join them as they discover the path to self and societal fulfillment while making a difference. Hosted by empowered and cool millennial Erika Mison, together with her fellow millennials, they will be making a difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Good afternoon, everyone. You are now tuned in to Making a Difference. This is a show created to inspire and motivate the youth of today. My name is Erika Mison, and I am your host for Making a Difference. So last Saturday, to celebrate International Volunteers Day, we invited youth volunteers to speak about their experiences about being a volunteer at such a young age. And we invited five youth volunteers from the different provinces here in the Philippines. So if you want to watch that episode or any of my previous episodes, actually, you can check Making a Difference on Facebook. So that's Making a Difference. And you can also find my other episodes on V81 Radio's YouTube channel. So all my episodes are there, from this episode down to my very, very first episode in season 1. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you actually our guest for today. Her name is Arizza Nocum, and she is the president from KRIS for Peace. Hi, Arizza, are you there?
Hi, Erika. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
We'll be back shortly, making a difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila. Connected ka na ba para laging updated sa mga bagong shows, promos, trending news, viral videos, events, o patok na OPM hits? Just follow us on Facebook at V81 Radio Manila. Simple lang, itype lang ang letter V81 Radio Manila. O, di ba madali lang? Kaya i-like at i-follow na. Coming soon on Napalm Season 3. If you rock with them, we're gonna roll them. Get ready for Napalm Music Awards because your new all-Pinoy alternative music source is about to bring the house down. Abangan at tumutok lang tuwing Sunday, 1 p.m. dito sa Napalm para sa mga updates. Dito lang yan sa V81 Radio, Manila. Now back to Making a Difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Okay, so welcome back. I do apologize for that. Before we were put into commercial, I actually had Arizza Nocum with me here today. Again, she is the president for KRIS for Peace. Hi, Arizza, are you there?
Hi, Erika. Hi again. It's
There.
nice to be here. Thanks again for inviting me.
Hi, Arizza. Hi again. Thank you. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be here on this show. I'm actually pretty excited and curious about our conversation today. So before we actually get into the organization, why don't we get to know Arizza a little better? So Arizza, tell us something about yourself. Where you graduated from, and where are you based naturally?
Okay, so thanks for that, Erika. And again, I'm also excited to be here and just to share with you my story and the story of our organization. So, hi to everyone listening right now. I'm Arizza. I'm currently based in Manila, but actually my family is from Mindanao. So, probinsyana ako, like my parents, and I'll tell you more about them later. I'm already a young professional, so I have a job working in marketing and public relations aside from my nonprofit work. But I graduated with a degree in engineering from UP Diliman, so medyo malayo, but yeah, I think millennials these days can get to be quite
Yeah.
multi-expert in maybe several fields. So I guess I kind of represent that part of us, how we're so interested in different fields and industries.
Right, I know. I'm actually like that too. I graduated with a degree in consular and diplomatic affairs, but right now I'm doing marketing. So I understand where you're coming from. And you didn't, okay, so I got curious no with the engineering degree. You,
Yes.
di ba may exam yon as well, medicine and law. Did you take the boards for that?
Well, I took industrial engineering and completed it. But sa industrial engineering kasi or IE, we don't actually have a board exam unlike civil engineering or electrical engineering or mechanical engineering. So I wasn't obligated to take it. And even though I didn't
Mm-hmm.
pursue my career of being an engineer like my batchmates or my classmates, I feel like it's still a big part of my life kasi when you're when you kind of got educate when you get educated in that mindset like very engineering and science and database, it goes into every aspect of your life. Now even with my nonprofit work or even in my works in marketing, I also have to be data centered and efficient and kind of very systematic in how I view things. So nandun pa rin talaga siya.
Okay. But what made you decide to take up engineering? Is it in your family ba?
Interesting question. So none of my family is in that field. What happened was that when I was in high school, I was very lucky to go to Philippine Science High School and get a scholarship. Kasi 'di ba sa atin, going into Philippine Science High School, it's what a lot of students want. Kasi libre. You don't have to pay for tuition. Tapos meron ka pang stipend. So I
Right.
got to Pisay or Philippine Science High in Diliman, Quezon City. And
Yeah.
after Pisay, students are obligated to take either a math, science, engineering, or related course. And that's why I ended up taking engineering.
Okay. So it's really something that interested you, if you
It
put it
is,
that
it
way.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the background of science and engineering, it's there talaga. Maybe I can share more
Right.
later of how I'm able to use that sa nonprofit work sa NGO even though malayo.
Right. 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 Okay. So with your company now, how long have you been working for them naman?
Well, it's actually our family's business. So
Okay.
I've been
Okay.
working since I graduated 4 years ago. But
Mm-hmm.
now I am been like creating my own firm na rin kasi my parents also want to
Ooh.
retire. So that's what I'm doing right
Okay.
now. I'm kind of parang offshooting to a new firm which I'm creating, and that firm will focus more on digital marketing and public
Oh.
relations. But we want to do also advocacy based work. So, working with other NGOs, working with companies that want to do like
Mm-hmm.
corporate social responsibility or CSR campaigns. So, that new
Mm-hmm.
company is called Diginspire because it
Uh-huh.
kind of puts together our what our expertise, the kind of expertise we want, which is in digital, but also in kind of inspirational and making connections with people through marketing and communications. Yeah.
Yeah. Then, that's a really, really good idea. I like it. And I hope, that that really pushes through. So good luck with that, Arissa. Super
Thank
I like
you.
that idea actually.
It's hard
Okay.
starting a
So
company though.
ayan.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So we need the
I
luck.
know. For sure.
Salamat.
For sure. It's really difficult. But I guess you had naman that experience with your family's business. So parang medyo may background ka na on that, no? And that
Yes.
will sort of give you that extra push that you need.
Yes.
Pero mahirap talaga mag-start ng business.
Yeah, I
Sobrang
know, right?
mahirap talaga.
Yeah.
I know, and then, grabe, can I just say, sorry, before we get into that, but can I just say, it's just, we're already at that age, I believe, na, we're trying to really work for our future. So, but then, yeah, okay, sige, you know what? I'm excited na to talk about Chris for Peace, and I want to get to know about what you do. So, maybe you could share to us what the organization is about. What is KRIS for Peace?
Okay. So, KRIS is basically a nonprofit organization that promotes peace through education. So, most people actually hindi nila naiisip that it's important to promote peace. And for a lot of people, parang vague yung concept eh. Ano nga ba ang peace? Like, how do I feel it?
Oo.
And dito sa Philippines, when you're talking about peace, usually it's in connection with just Mindanao or just the plight of our Muslim brothers and sisters in certain areas of Mindanao. So, yung ibang tao, iniisip nila na yung peace hanggang doon. But kami sa KRIS, we actually want peace to be everyone's advocacy. We want to tell people how important it is that we know the value of peace, and especially for young people, that they know how important it is to promote peace among their own circles and communities. So later on, I hope to show you some of the photos we have sa Chris, some of the slides that I prepared. So siguro po we can bring that up.
Okay. Ayan.
Okay.
Okay. There we
So
go.
I just want to give you like a overall cuento of the hugots that made Chris what it is today. Next slide, please. And I really want to start with a story of love. So, parati ko kang kinukwento na yung kwento namin sa Chris, it really began with a love story. And it's an interesting one kasi it's one na parang Romeo and Juliet na, sobrang may, ang daming balakid, ang daming like hurdles na pinagdaanan. Pero in the end, nagkatuluyan din naman. So, this story is the story of
Yes.
my parents. My dad, he's Catholic and he's from Zamboanga. That's my mom, she's Muslim naman and she's from Sulu. So both of them came from quite religious families. So when they met, immediately, there was this thought na we couldn't date or it would be so hard to get our parents to agree to allow us to date and see each other and that it might be impossible to sustain a relationship. Pero sabi nga nila, love is blind and you can't underestimate the power of love no matter what. So even though you had those forces and you had those challenges, they still ended up together and they decided to start a family together. Next slide, please. So, ayun. So, what's interesting din about my parents is not only did they decide to end up together, even though they have different religions, they also decided that they wouldn't convert. So they wouldn't convert to just Islam or just Christianity. They decided to keep those two religions in the home. So when I was born, so this is me, like many years ago, when I was born as the first child, my parents decided na we would have both religions in our household and they would teach me and eventually my siblings both religions. And sobrang weird, honestly, when I look back at my childhood, Erika, as in, when I was a kid growing up, we would celebrate Christmas, like kunwari ngayon, holidays. But we would also celebrate Eid al-Fitr
Right.
and Eid al-Adha, which is the festivals in Islam. And then
Right.
when we were at home, we don't eat pork out of respect for my mom.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
but yeah, but when my dad goes to mass, sometimes we go with him. Like even my mom comes with him, but she doesn't participate in the sacrament or the ceremony. She just sits. And the importance of going together was just so we could all be together as a family. And then, di ba sa bahay, usually you have an altar, you have like the Bible there, or some sort of corner for your faith. But in our house, we didn't have that. Kasi my parents said that our house was like a neutral ground and we can't have objects of Islam or Christianity there. So out of respect for just one another. And when I have relatives visiting, ganun din. Like some of them are Muslim and then they teach me about the Quran, about their prayers. And then some of them are Catholic and then they teach me about the Bible and about what it means to, follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. But the interesting thing growing up was that I realized that there were more similarities than differences between the two religions. Next slide, please. Next slide po. Ayan, there. Okay. And parang when I was thinking about it, it felt like I was growing up between the cross and the crescent moon. Kasi these are the symbols of Islam and Christianity, right? So parang I was in the middle because I could see both. I had learned from both. And my identity as a person was really shaped by both religions. And I know it's super weird, but that's really how I was brought up. Can I ask what your religion is?
Oh, me, I am born again. Born again
Born again.
Christian. Yeah. Oo. This is a very interesting story. I'm really, really okay. I love. I'm galing. Okay, continue.
Yeah, and honestly, hindi. It's not something that I used to want to share before when I was younger, because I felt that people would look at me differently and kind of say that what my parents did, it's not acceptable, or that a person can't have two religions, or that I should just choose one. You know, I can't identify with both. So may mga ganong doubts before, pero ngayon I think it's more important to share the story. And you know, back to this slide that I have right now, what we had in our home was so nice. We were somehow able to have a environment of peace and harmony. The only problem is that when we go outside, iba yung kwento eh. It's not as nice, it's not peaceful, it's not harmonious. And when you put Islam and Christianity together in one sentence, usually yung usapin ay about conflict, about discrimination, about prejudice. And there's so many communities that have both Muslims and Christians in areas of Mindanao that are that experience war, that experience terrorism. So it's not, it's like the opposite of what I had at home. And so our what we were thinking was that as a family before, anong pwede namin gawin? Parang, how could we share what we found in our home to people outside? So that was the running question. Next slide, please. Okay, and siguro I have to share, Erika, another experience that I had aside from having that experience with these two religions. Kasi this other experience naman, this is about education and how I grew up as a student. So I mentioned to you earlier, I entered Philippine Science High School as a scholar. Tapos nung nag-college ako, pumasok naman ako sa UP also as a scholar. And honestly, I felt so lucky kasi hindi lahat ng estudyante nagkakaroon ng ganitong opportunity. And I really felt privileged to be able to not pay anything from high school to college. But on the other hand, I also felt so guilty because I know how important education is. We all know how important education is. It's parang make or break siya eh. You know, if you don't have a degree, if you're not able to graduate, there's so much potential that's left unfulfilled. So I felt guilty kasi alam ko na there were so many other kids who seemed like they deserved more. They deserve to have that kind of free education, those scholarships more than I did. So I felt that there really was a need to parang pay it forward. And I guess that experience, you know, with my parents and then this experience of being a scholar and knowing how important education is, that's what really led me to building KRIS, the nonprofit organization. Ayun. So next slide, please. Okay.
Is that you?
Yes,
That's you. Grabe. This was in high school, right?
Yeah, this was in first year high school. And
Okay.
one thing I appreciate about the schools that I was in, kasi public schools, government schools, is they also really teach you that it's important to think about the people around you, your community, your country. Kasi pinag-aaral ka ng gobyerno, ng mga taxpayers. So your education isn't just for you. It's something you can also share to others and try to empower others. Kaya I'm sharing this photo because I remember this was the first day of first year high school. And parang back then, when I entered as a scholar, inisip ko, ano bang pwede kong gawin? Ano bang pwede kong i-share? Parang, how do I use all of these privileges, use all of this luck that I've had, these blessings, and share it with other people? And yun nga, that's what eventually led me to KRIS many years later. Next slide, please. So our ideology at KRIS is really to use education to promote peace. So sabi nga dito ni Maria Montessori, establishing lasting peace is the work of education. All politics can do is keep us out of war. Yan, controversial. Pero yeah, we really believe that education is a key to peace. Next slide. So yeah, so there. That's how KRIS for Peace started. That's how KRIS was born through this whole journey that I've had, that I can connect pa to what my parents experienced also before coming from Mindanao. So siguro I stop here a bit if you have questions about everything that I've said so far, and later on I want to share more about KRIS and what we do.
Okay. Me, I have I have like a couple of questions actually
Go
just by
ahead, yeah.
listening to but you know what, can I first of all, before the questions, can I just say that was just a very beautiful story of how the organization was put up. So I am curious lang. You mentioned kasi that your parents, your dad is Catholic and your mom is Muslim. So how did that, would you hear yung mga kwento ba ng parents mo na how was it during their time? Kasi iba yung religions nila. So, how did their parents deal with it? Nakwento ba
Yeah.
yun sa'yo ever?
Yeah. So there was a lot of resistance. So I think when they got together, both sides, yung parents nila, not weren't really happy that they were together. Kasi my dad, he came from a religious Catholic family. In fact, his mom, my lola, wanted him to become a priest. As in, he was enrolled to the seminary, but then he left because he didn't feel that it was for him. And then my mom naman, she also comes from a religious Muslim family. I have relatives who are very devout, who helped build mosques in Mindanao, who have gone to pilgrimage in Mecca. So that's what we call the Hajj in Islam. So both sides talaga religious. Kaya nung nagsama sila, parang what are you guys doing? It wasn't something that they accepted. But then I think my parents showed by example na kaya nila, and that somehow they're able to retain their own religions and they're able to preserve that parang identity when they passed it on to their kids. And I think through the years, my grandparents and our relatives accepted them. And okay na kaming lahat ngayon. Pero I think in the beginning with my parents, it was really a struggle. Kaya, grabe, idol ko talaga parents ko, wagas ang kanilang pag-ibig.
Yes, love conquers all nga naman, di ba? Grabe. Yeah, kasi I've never heard of a story like this pa. That's why sobrang when I was listening to you. Oh, yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing this. So, by the way, to the viewers out there, if you have any questions for Arizza, feel free to comment down below and we'll try to get her to answer your questions.
Yeah.
So, Arizza, growing up, so you were in a household, I mean, maganda naman yung setup ng parents mo na neutral yung home nyo.
Yes,
But
yes.
was there a time na, syempre, I think we were kids eh. So pag kids,
Yeah.
tendency baka ma-confuse ka or, you were just very curious na, did you ever have that talk with your parents na nako-confuse ka na when it comes to religion? Kasi religion plays a big role in the family eh. So did you ever feel that way? Did you ever feel confused at the time?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one important experience was kasi in grade school I went to a Catholic na all girls school. So both my parents were fine with putting me there kasi syempre yung Catholic all girls school, they also accept, students of other religions. So
Yes.
so I went to an exclusive Catholic school, and there syempre we had CLE, Christian living subjects. We had projects na going to church. We were supposed to do like reports on the Bible and everything. And at that time, I felt really Catholic. Like there was no most of what I was learning was really about Catholicism. But I think when my mom saw this, she also wanted to like show me her world. And when she showed me that, no una, I felt confused. Kasi parang, how can two religions coexist, you know? Parang, most people just have one religion, and that's it. And how could my parents, you know, accept this kind of situation between them? Hindi rin ba sila na confused? So, as a kid, I had these questions. But then, the realization later on, as I mentioned earlier, is the principles are the same. The values are the same. The teachings are mostly the same. You look at verses from the Quran and the Bible, and they talk about compassion, about kindness, about respect, about faith, and about sacrifice. So there's so many more things that are similar than different. Sometimes the differences nasa pangalan lang or nasa sobrang small details lang. So I eventually, when I learned more about both Islam and Christianity, I saw na, you know, there's not much there's not much really to fight about or to argue about. Kasi when you look at like what the heart of Christianity and what the heart of Islam is, it's really more about love. It's really more about these values. I'm sure you know this.
Yeah.
And siguro another experience that I had that was hard when I was a kid was telling people that my mom was Muslim. Kasi I grew up here in Manila mostly, and
Okay.
since I came from a Catholic all-girls school. Most of my classmates Catholic talaga, and then they get so confused when I tell them my mom's Muslim. Not only because you know na parang the two religions thing, but also because they would say things like, aren't Muslims terrorists? Or aren't Muslims violent? Or why aren't you wearing a scarf, the hijab thing? Or why isn't your mom wearing this? Or aren't you not supposed to be studying in this school? So stuff like that. And I didn't, you know, hindi ko naman inisip that it's their fault. Kasi they also didn't know much about Islam.
Okay, there. No, but I heard you. I heard
We'll be back shortly, making a
I
difference.
heard. Okay. Hi. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes,
am I?
yes, good. Yeah, the technical.
Okay, great. Okay, good. No, yeah, yeah. No, but I heard you though. I heard you. You had girls telling you na you know aren't Muslims terrorists and
Yeah.
why aren't you wearing the hijab, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that was very difficult for you during that time because you were young. So
Yeah.
how did you get to overcome that? What would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them na, you know, when I talk to my mom, when I meet my relatives who are Muslim, they were the nicest people ever. You know, I sobrang they were doctors and nurses who would work abroad, and you know you can really see that they didn't do their job just to earn money, but because they actually cared for their patients and the people that they worked with. I had relatives na, you know, typical OFW who would be sacrificing so many years of their life na to take care of their families and their kids. And these were really nice people who volunteered in their own organizations, whether that's in my mom's province in Sulu or in Zamboanga, where some of my relatives are. So I had no doubt in my mind that the Muslims I knew from my relatives, from my family, and even their friends, they were really good people. So I would tell them na, ni naman ganyan yung nanay ko, ni naman ganyan yung tita ko, ni naman ganyan yung pinsan ko. So even as a kid, I could already parang address that prejudice kasi the way I grew up, I really didn't see that. And yung narrative na yon na, you know, Muslims are more prone to violence and that they're more prone to terrorism, I think it's really a misconception that's been created by media and by the news that we see and by a lot of other things. So that's one of the reasons why KRIS exists, because we want to address that. We want to tell people not to judge. We want them to think differently and to think critically first before making an assumption or making a judgment.
Right, right. And you know what? Since you mentioned Chris, the organization, maybe we can no, we can dive in deeper to what you guys do and what projects you've come up with. So, when did you guys start, pala?
Okay, so we started 2008. That's when we did our first project, which was a library. So yeah, I'll show you here with these photos then. So we started in 2008. And since we were promoting peace through education, yung unang project namin was building libraries. So actually, that's why we're called KRIS. Kasi we were initially named Cristiano Islam Peace Library. Yeah. Yeah, when people see Chris nga, they say, sponsored by ni Chris Aquino or someone. So it's, no. It's Cristiano Islam.
Okay, guys, disclaimer, this is Chris isn't sponsored by Chris Aquino.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right,
Yeah,
sige, go ahead.
Yeah, we started with building libraries. And yung iniisip kasi namin was, it was important to build libraries and give a lot of young people access like to books and computers in areas where there's conflict. Why? Because one reason why young people who are our age or even younger join terrorist groups like Abu Sayyaf, kunwari, is because they don't see other alternatives. Like they don't have enough access to education, they don't have the resources they need to be able to learn well. So kaya mas madali for them to go down a path of violence that's away from all these promising opportunities that education could bring. And that's why we decided that libraries were important. And another reason why we also thought libraries were a good solution was because feeling namin when more young people read stories, when they read books, when they're exposed to this knowledge, na open yung mind nila. They get exposed to different kinds of cultures, religions, and countries, and it just helps them be more open and be more accepting of this diversity that the world has. And then lastly, we also wanted a space to physically promote peace. So before, when we started our libraries mostly in Mindanao, we have both Christian and Muslim kids going to the library. So ang mangyayari, yung mga Christian kids, they'll be like on this side, and then the Muslim kids will be on the other side, and they kind of keep to themselves. But in our libraries, we have a lot of activities where we make them mix together. And because they play together and they read together and they learn together, they eventually find friends on the other side. And then eventually, after a few months, you see the kids na halo-halo na. So hindi mo na nakikita na may division. You really see them having friendships. And it was really nice to see. And other than the libraries, we also started a scholarship program. So I can tell you more about that later. And we also donated books and school supplies to a lot of young people and communities mostly affected by conflict and poverty. Ayun. So that's how KRIS started. Next slide, please. And since then, 2008 is a long time ago. I'm very privileged and we're very blessed at KRIS that we've been able to help thousands of young people in different communities. Next slide. And I just want to share maybe a few of the special things that we did. So for instance, this picture that you see, it's in a mobile library in Sulu that we did in partnership with the Marines in the area. So this area, sa Sulu, it's called Patikol. And it was actually one of the sites of one of the most gruesome attacks by the Abu Sayyaf. They beheaded 2 teachers, I believe, many years ago in this same area. And it's also the site near several explosions and kidnappings. So, malala talaga sa area na to. But we're very lucky that in 2017, we were able to partner with the Marines and other like-minded organizations to bring a different kind of quote unquote weapon to these areas. So we brought mobile libraries, we brought books, and then some of our partners brought medicines and other things that the communities really needed. So this was a really nice photo to have, even though honestly it was one of the scariest projects we've had to do for KRIS. So imagine it was a simple like outreach. Now we had these books and we had these libraries, but in the procession ng cars, whenever we would go around Sulu, ang kasama namin military tank and like couple of trucks with Marines in them holding their big guns. So it was scary, but we will keep doing this, I hope, because we really need to reach out to these people. Next slide, please. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we also have a lot of activities in our libraries where we really try to bridge the gap between the students. Because it's not only students coming from different religions that we work with. Some of these students come from different indigenous groups. Some of these young people, different economic backgrounds. And it's nice to just see them build these connections and open their eyes. Next slide, please. And I mentioned earlier that we had a scholarship program. So we launched our scholarship program in 2011. And since then, we've been able to help 400 students complete their education. So yung students na yon, iba-iba, some were preschool, some were grade school, high school, and we had 7 college graduates during that time. So it's not a lot, but I think we really tried our best to have a deep impact in the lives of the students that we touched. And we hope to relaunch our scholarship program sometime soon, hopefully next year. Next slide. Okay, so can we go back to the previous slide? Oh. Okay, thank you. So siguro I'll stop muna there kasi there have been a lot of changes in how KRIS has had its project since 2008. So I will tell you more about some of those changes later, but siguro I'll stop here if you have questions or if you want me to discuss more about certain projects that we had.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay. You were telling us your stories about the project you had in Sulu. So besides that project, have you ever was there another parang notable experience that you had na maybe you had while volunteering or while reaching out to these kids? May memorable experience ka ba na parang wow, I will really remember this day till the day I leave this earth. Na parang I want to tell this story to my kids. Did you ever have that realization or that experience that made you realize that?
Yeah, so thanks for asking that kasi sobrang dami. As in, I feel like I aged so much in the past years because there were a lot of positive things, but there were also a lot of challenges. Let's start with the really positive things that happened. So I remember, syempre I won't mention specific names, but I remember we had a scholar before. So we were supporting her when she was grade 5, I think. And when between grade 5 and grade 6, her parents lost employment and it was really hard for their family. And she's from Zamboanga. So usually in those areas, especially if you come from a poor family, ang sasabihin ng parents mo, huwag ka na mag-aral, go back home, help us, get a job, pwede kang maging katulong, pwede ka tumulong sa farm. Usually ganito yung prospects pag ganong age. So siya naman, gusto niya mag-aral and she wanted to continue. And we encouraged her to keep studying because she was really brilliant. As in, she was one of the top sa class niya and she wanted to become a doctor someday. So on grade 5 to grade 6, fortunately, she was able to get to grade 6. And I remember parang having tears in my eyes when I saw the picture of her graduation day nung grade 6 siya. Kasi from a girl who almost didn't continue schooling, who almost stopped school because of poverty. On the day of graduation, she had like 20 medals on her,
Wow.
like over her toga. She was the valedictorian and she was like the leadership awardee. She was like the service awardee. She was best in science, best in math, ganon. Tas, grabe, I remember seeing that and just um, parang having tears in my eyes na parang just the help that we were able to give through Chris na kahit maliit lang, like for her, um, it was such a major turning point. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, now she is in med school. And hopefully, she'll finish and become a doctor.
Okay, sorry. So she was sorry. Yeah, she's in med school now.
Yeah, she is.
Okay. Oh, wow! Congratulations. Here in Manila or
Zamboanga.
in Zamboanga.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really nice to hear. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really love stories na ganyan. I
Yeah.
bet it was a very
Yeah.
heartfelt moment for you and for the rest of the members for Chris for
Yeah.
Peace.
So,
Do you another question that I usually ask pag mga organizations. Are you open to accepting mga volunteers for Chris for Peace?
yeah, definitely. I'll tell you more about the activities later that we need help with.
Mm-mm.
Pero siguro for now, if it's okay, I want to share another story din. Kasi I think
Sure.
it also illustrates like how kids in Mindanao and some areas of Mindanao are having a really hard time because of the conflict and all happening there. So we also had another scholar before. Siya naman, she's Muslim. The girl earlier, she's Catholic. So this girl, she's Muslim. And the first time I met her, um I was in awe because we were having like parang a Thanksgiving thing where we got all the scholars
Mm-mm.
together and then we filmed them. We took videos of them thanking the donors who supported their scholarship. And syempre, we had a batch of like grade school students there who were, just sharing. And syempre, hindi pa sila ganun ka like confident and vocal and expressive. So most of them were, thank you po, this is a really good opportunity and maraming salamat po sa inyong tulong. So very timid lang, ano lang. And then this small girl comes in and I haven't met her yet. Dun ko lang siya na-meet. And then when it was her turn to get the mic, she was like sobrang galing niya, sobrang expressive, sobrang charismatic, sobrang loud. And I remember being so shocked that time kasi um she was studying and most of our scholars were studying in public schools in Zamboanga. And syempre, they can get really talented there and they have really good teachers. Pero the level of the quality of education is still far from what we have here in Manila, for instance. So for this girl to be speaking like that with confidence and charisma and in straight English, like having this parang impromptu speech thanking the donors of our organization and all of us being impressed because she was a small girl and we didn't expect that from her, it just blew us away. And I never forgot her. And I was so sad when the next year I heard that her dad was killed because of an incident that may have been related to Abu Sayyaf. And in the same day, her mom was also shot and her mom was paralyzed. So it was such a painful blow to their whole family. And ang malala pa is that whoever killed and targeted their parents also told them na kung hindi kayo magtatago, kayo nang sunod. So we didn't really find out what exactly happened, who was involved, and if it was really related to Abu Sayyaf or something similar. Pero these things happen in areas like Zamboanga, where this girl lives. And the effect on a young person is just huge. There's so much trauma. There's so much it's such a big challenge to surmount. And this girl, they had to go into hiding. So she stopped school. But Eventually, several months after, she resurfaced and then she asked for our help so that we could continue her scholarship. And we willingly helped her, of course, because we want to do all we can to, help her get back on track and fulfill her dreams. And I remember that year that happened to her parents when she went back to school. Even though she only attended a few months, she still ended up graduating, I think, top 5 in her batch.
Wow.
And more than that, I remember talking to her, I think after her graduation, and she told me na, Ate Arizza, gusto ko maging lawyer kasi yun yung dream ng dad ko for me. And I think she was also very passionate about it now because of what she saw happening to her parents and how she wanted to bring justice to what happened to their family. And I think that I haven't stayed connected with her in the past years, but I think she actually received a scholarship from abroad to take up a course going to law. Yeah.
Nice. Grabe, naiyak ako doon, no? Medyo, I really teared up. I'm not okay. Sorry. No, but
I know.
The work that you do talaga, it's really great and refreshing to hear that, we have people like you.
Disclaimer, naiyak na rin ako. Na,
Yeah.
sobrang small part lang talaga kami ng journey nila eh. Like, yes, we're happy to help, but we also acknowledge na grabe talaga yung strength ng mga batang to. As in, imagine growing up in a place that's where the reality of conflict and terrorism is so real and so tangible, but still being strong enough and being courageous enough to go to school, to aspire to have these big dreams and to end up actually fulfilling them. And siguro on the basis, on that note, I want to share a final story siguro about our scholars. So the scholar naman, she, I think I lost you for a bit.
We'll be back shortly, making a difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila. Are you ready to explore a new kind of music? Yung bang kakaiba na hindi mo pa napapakinggan, mga bagong artist? Nagugulat sa inyo sa kanilang awit at tugtugan. Discover them, hear them in Napalm Hour. Ang Napalm ay ang new all-Pinoy alternative music source na para sa kakaibang musika. Alternative artists and bands all the time. Catch them at Napalm Hour. Mondays through Fridays, 12 noon to 1 p.m. and 8 to 9 p.m. Streaming live on V81 Radio mobile app. Kaya i-download mo na for free. Now na! The holidays can seem draining with all that is going on. It is doubly difficult because we all miss our usual means of support, the comfort of gathering with friends and family, and worship services that are part of our traditions. We are here for you through it all. We wish you endurance, strength, good health, positive mind, and as much as happiness as these times can allow. This pandemic year has shown us what we can bear. May this coming year remove all this negative energy and enlighten our lives instead. Merry Christmas and a positive new year to come from V81 Radio, Manila. Now back to Making a Difference, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Okay, welcome back to Making a Difference. So if you are just tuning in, before the break, I was talking to Arizza Nocum. So she is the co-founder and president of KRIS for Peace. Now, KRIS for Peace is a youth organization that focuses on promoting peace education. So before the break, she was sharing the story of how the organization started and her experiences while she was volunteering for the organization. So I actually like to call her back again because she has actually one more story to tell. Hello, Arizza. Ayan.
Hi.
Hello. All right.
That we had a little
So
break because I had to look at
before
issues on my
before the break, sorry about that. But before the break, um, yeah, before the break, you wanted to share actually one more story that you had. So maybe you could share that story with us.
Yeah, yeah. So, last na I guess about the some of the scholars that we've had. One of them, also a girl, also from Zamboanga. She was one of our scholars until college, and when she was in college, she was having a really hard time. Because even though we had given her a scholarship, her family also expected her to support them. And it's something that a lot of young people struggle with, na inaasahan sila ng parents nila kahit na nag-aaral pa rin sila. So what happened was that while she was taking her college course, she was also staying in as a maid, as a katulong. So she told me her schedule before na at 4 a.m. she would wake up to wash dishes and wash the laundry. Tapos magluluto siya. And then at 7, she goes to school. And then at 5 or 6 p.m. she comes back. And then she does all the chores again until like 10 to 12. And then after that, she would still study for a few hours. Tapos nakatulog siya like 2 a.m. na or 1 a.m. na. Tapos gigising ulit siya ng 4 a.m. And that was her life for several years. But what was very nice about how it all turned out was she eventually became a teacher because she graduated from education. And we saw how passionate she was about teaching. Because even when she was a high school student, she was already volunteering sa libraries namin to teach the other kids. And we didn't ask her to. We didn't, have a program for it. She just went to our library and started teaching, tutoring kids. So dun palang nakita talaga namin na her heart was really in there. And taking into account that her parents really needed the support and her siblings really needed the financial support, she could have chosen, to get a higher paying job somewhere or to enroll in a field na she would know na malaki kagad yung kita niya or to go abroad. But she didn't choose those things because what she really wanted when she started working was to work in the same public school where she studied. So bumalik siya to the same barangay she's from in Zamboanga, and she is teaching there now. She's teaching science. And what we really love about her is because she's our scholar, she also shares to her kids about KRIS, her students about, our story of peace and education. And hopefully someday we can also work with her on a bigger project, maybe for her students or for her school or for her community. So saludo talaga, as in, whenever I meet people like our scholars or the people that we've worked with, mga volunteers namin, nalulula ako. Like, I feel so small compared to the challenges that they face, the strength that they've been able to showcase. As in, grabe talaga.
Yeah, I'm sure that you mentioned this a while ago. The kids that you've encountered, sobrang they're really strong. To
Yeah,
at an early age, they would go through that, and grabe, they would still come out very strong. And
yeah,
parang I'm sure you've had that moment na you also look at yourself then na parang if they can do it, then so can we, 'di ba? So
yeah,
thank you for
yeah.
sharing those stories talaga. Super it's very very inspiring, and I hope those who are watching are very inspired to malapit na ako umiyak kanina just um sorry. Okay. A while ago you mentioned that so you started in 2008 and then medyo nag-shift na the way you do projects for Chris. So what did you mean when you said na iba na yung parang what is that shift? What shift did you make?
Okay. Well, maybe I can ask to put back my slides so I can also show you.
Okay.
Okay. So before I talk about this slide,
Yeah.
I
There we
wanna
go.
tell you about the difficulties we've had at KRIS. We're a small NGO, and most of our funding is really from donations from individuals, especially in the past. And we didn't have paid staff, so we're all volunteers. And obviously the money and the effort that it takes to run libraries was so big, as in sobrang nahirapan kami. And adding to that, we had the scholarship program pa, which cost a lot of money, and that was also very difficult for us. And I remember virtually my entire college life, I fortunately never had to worry about my tuition kasi scholar ako sa UP. Pero namomroblema pa rin ako sa tuition dahil sa scholars namin sa KRIS. So, ganon. But eventually, we decided that it would be more efficient for us to take our programs and our mission outside of a physical structure. Kasi for one, mahal nga mag-maintain ng libraries. You had your utilities, you had rent, you had manpower that you needed. And on the other hand, the young people that we targeted were also evolving. So they don't really go to libraries anymore. And most of the material that they want to read or interact with is online. So we really wanted that shift. And then thirdly, na-realize namin before na our mission is to promote peace through education. But we kind of already dictated what those specific solutions should be. So we were telling young people na we should have these libraries and we should have a scholarship program. Tapos you can volunteer and you can support. And the project was already there. But we realized that we're not good enough to dictate those solutions. And we think that young people, especially those we target in these areas like Zamboanga, Sulu, Marawi, Davao, they would have a better knowledge of what's going on with their peers, what the context is in their community, and they would be in a better position to actually tell us what to do instead of us telling them what to do. So ngayon, ang focus talaga namin is more capacity building. So as I mentioned here in this slide, right now, our main programs have to do with training and conferences to mentor young Filipinos on peace building and leadership. So we have them into conferences like this, yung Isang Bayan Peace Building Conference, where we teach them about peace, about the state of conflict in the Philippines, about how peace is related to the other sustainable development goals, and also how they can manage their own project, how they can manage a budget, how they can get volunteers to support them, how they can get donors. And with those two, parang we want to bring in peace building through education and youth leadership. And for us, this is more of a bottom-up approach kasi we equip these young leaders with the tools and the knowledge that they need to start their own projects, and then we support them along the way. So I'll tell you about the project of ours that we do specifically for that. Next slide, please. And knowing that a lot of young people are online now, so mas online na talaga yung exposure. So we're also bringing our campaigns online. So for instance, we have both online and offline campaigns to promote values like empathy, like respect, like unity and diversity. And in this picture I'm showing you, it's an exhibit that we did in January. So it was a partnership with the Austrian Embassy of Manila. We had a lomography exhibit called We Are One, Unity and Diversity. And what we did was we got photographs by artists made from all over the world and from the Philippines. And the theme was unity and diversity. And we put all of those pictures together in an exhibit that we had in Intramuros. So it was Intramuros siya. But also, we posted them online so that we can share them to other people. So the kinds of campaigns like that. And I remember in 2017, we also celebrated International Hijab Day. So World Hijab Day is where young women from Islam kind of come together and celebrate, wearing the hijab and what it means to them and what it means to their faith and to their modesty and to their respect and their own values. So we made an event where we invited non-Muslim women and we parang partnered them up with Muslim women, and then these Muslim women taught them how to wear the hijab, but at the same time, kinakwento din nila yung experience nila, why the hijab is important to them, why to them it's a form of faith and devotion, and why it's not only to be modest, but also to show their commitment to their faith. So, nagkaroon ng, exchange between these Muslim women and then these non-Muslim women. It was really nice to see this solidarity between women. So certain programs like that. Next slide, please. And right now, we also have programs to help young people adjust to the pandemic. So ngayon kasi, a lot of our activities are online kasi wala kaming choice. So we also have webinars, we have virtual trainings, we have virtual conferences. But the problem is that the young people we're targeting, most of the time they don't have enough access to the internet, or they don't have enough access to devices. So we're trying to fix that. We have a project called #EduIkaw, and basically we're providing tablets to students in need of those tablets. So we've been able to give, I think, around 30 tablets already to students from Luzon to Mindanao. And yung system namin is they have to apply for it, and pinaprioritize namin yung mga students who are heavily in need, who are from the most low-income families. And usually, right after they receive the tablet, they send us a photo of a video right away that they took from that tablet. And makikita mo talaga yung saya sa mukha nila and yung parang relief that finally I'll be able to have online classes. Finally, I don't have to share with my siblings yung isang phone or tablet na meron kami sa bahay, or finally may load na ako or may device na ako that I can use to not just for classes but just to learn on my own, to learn how to do makeup, to learn how to do art, to learn how to just edit videos. These young people, they're so creative, and what we want to do is like how we did with our libraries before, give them access to education because it's such a transformative process that helps them realize their full potential. Next slide, please. And we're also happy because we're able to share the experience and the story of KRIS to different parts of the world through different events. Next slide, please.
Oh, that's you, right?
Yes, that's me.
Go girl. Okay.
and through experiences like that, conferences like that in other countries, KRIS has been able to partner with really fantastic institutions and organizations who have been supporting us for several years. So one of them is the Kofi Annan Foundation that's founded by the former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan. So he spearheaded something called Extremely Together. Extremely Together is an alliance of 10 young leaders from all over the world who are working to promote peace and fight violent extremism. So I was very lucky to be included as one of those leaders. And as a result, we've been able to receive a lot of support from the Kofi Annan Foundation and their partner organizations. Next slide po. And right now, we have a really important project. It's Extremely Together, the Philippines chapter. And what we'll basically do is to help conduct more trainings on how young people can prevent violent extremism and to just bring this kind of international movement to the Philippines. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Ayan. So right now, Extremely Together has chapters in Somalia, Uganda, Pakistan, and now the Philippines as well. Next slide. Okay, so siguro just to sum up the things I've shared, one important realization I had when I was working with KRIS was how much the experience shaped me as a person. And parang one of the ways in which I gave tribute to that whole experience was when I had my graduation photo nung graduate ako from college. So that was in 2016. And nung nag-graduation photo ako, di ba sa UP, what you usually do is you take a graduation photo with the sablay. And then you wear a Filipiniana, and then you put the sablay over it. And I had that grad photo. That's the one you see on the left. But I also thought that part of me wanted to bring my mom's identity into the fold and bring not only that identity of Islam that she shared with me, but also her culture coming from Sulu, being part of the Tausug tribe, which is based in Sulu. And I was able to present that through this other picture on the right. And when I was taking these photos and I put them together, I realized that what I've been doing throughout this whole time was telling people that these two people are the same. That the girl on the right is the same as the girl on the left. That they both have the same dreams. They both have the same aspirations. They both want to change the world. And there's no difference, even though they might have different identities or they look different or they dress differently, there's no difference. And what I'm trying to share with other people is to have that same perception. Na kahit magkaiba tayo ng religion or even though we have different cultures or backgrounds, there's so much that we have in common. And if we're able to realize that, then we'd have a better chance of working together, not just to address conflict, but we really need this unity and this respect for each other to work on bigger problems. Like, for instance, ngayon sa pandemic, without that unity, without that solidarity, we won't be able to parang put our resources together and really rally a bigger movement to address the pandemic globally. And then you also have climate change. You also have widespread poverty and inequality worldwide. So without that unity, without being extremely together, as I mentioned, we're not strong enough to address all these big problems. And that's why peace for me is so important, no matter what your advocacy is.
Arizza, thank you so much for sharing. Naiyak na naman ako. You have such a great story. I'm so happy to have you here, on making a difference and just really sharing your story to the world. Again, and congratulations on, what you've done so far for KRIS for Peace.
Thank you.
Galing. Congratulations.
I'm so touched that you feel
I'm so
that
happy. Yeah. I'm so happy to have you here on Making a Difference talaga. You are the epitome of the show. You truly are really making a difference in the world, and talaga, we it's nice to hear this from you, because we also I this is also the main point of the show, is to really also educate those who are watching, and
Yeah.
make them realize that this is really happening.
Yeah.
Arisa, thank you so much. I'm
Thank
so
you. Thank
thankful.
you as well. Girl,
Baka
I'll just
umiyak na
share.
tayo.
I'll share the slide because
Go
it's
ahead.
already there. Basahin ko lang. So it's from
Yeah.
from Mr. Kofi Annan, who passed
Mm.
away like 2 years ago. So sabi niya,
Mm-mm.
education is quite simply peace building by another name. It's the most effective form of defense spending there is. So I'm done with this PowerPoint, but I just want to share that it's so important that we all realize that we have such an impact when it comes to peace. So kahit hindi ka taga Mindanao, or kahit hindi ka Muslim, or kahit you don't live in those areas that experience conflict, like you can do so much. As in, just the fact that you kind of suspend judgment, or when you think of a stereotype, or when there's that thought in your head na there's a bias na about Muslims or about people from indigenous groups, like just the fact that you process it and not reinforce it, malaking bagay na siya. And I always want to share people that, kasi syempre dito sa Philippines, majority of us are Christians or Catholic. And hindi usually na-share yung perspective ng mga Muslim Filipinos. But imagine if you were a Muslim Filipino growing up in the Philippines and you don't see yourself being represented as much. I think I lost you. Parang nawala po si Erika. Wait lang po.
We'll be back shortly, making a difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila. Pagpatak ng 7, dapat lahat nakatutok sa amin. Catch these programs at 7 p.m. Pacific Time. Talk Shop Asia Global, USA Edition, with Rolly Pagaspas and Rosario Cajucom Bradbury. Home Not Alone, Sounds from Home, with Papa Gio. And Freedom in Christ, with Felson. It's all about entrepreneurship, entertainment, and enlightenment. Back-to-back-to-back programs at 7. LA at 7. LA at 7. Exclusively on V81 Radio, Los Angeles. Kabayan, nahuhomesick ka ba? I-download na ang aming mobile app at mag-enjoy sa mga kantang tatak Pinoy and feel like you're home. The V81 Radio mobile app, available in the App Store and Google Play Store. V81 Radio mobile app, free now, free forever. Now back to Making a Difference, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Okay, so welcome back again to Making a Difference. Now, before we end the show, I would like to call back our guest for today, Arizza Nocum. Again, she is the co-founder and president for KRIS for Peace. Ayan. Again, Arizza, thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing the story of KRIS for Peace. Now, before I let you go, maybe you could feel free to share. Maybe you have any upcoming projects for KRIS for Peace, or feel free to you can share them. And where could we find you pala also on social media?
Okay, so thanks for that, Erika. First of all, for anybody who's interested to volunteer or see how they want to partner with us, check out our projects at krisforpeace.org. You can also find our social media there. So that's KRISFOR peace.org. And you can also shoot us an email from there. Right now, we're looking for a lot of help. So first is if you want to donate money or if you want to donate secondhand devices, you can go to our Facebook page and see the details for our hashtag EduIkaw project because that project is ongoing and we'll keep doing it as long as there are kids having online classes these days. We recently partnered with PLDT Smart Foundation and they gave us load, pocket Wi-Fi, and tablets. But the more we could help, the better. So you can support that. Secondly, if you want to work with us, if you're like a youth organization, or if you're an LGU, or if you're a school that wants to have a partnership to do a peace education seminar or to just have programs that in your school that we can help with. We do peace education training. We do project management for peace and development projects. So we can work with you on that. So let's talk. Tapos we can think of a way to collaborate. And then thirdly, it would mean so much to us if you could share our current project that we're running, which is Extremely Together Philippines. Actually, on Monday, we'll be accepting applications for the first camp that we're going to have in January for Extremely Together Philippines. So it's going to be a training program on preventing violent extremism. And the participants of this camp, once they finish the training program, they're eligible to submit proposals and win a 30,000 peso grant. And we'll be looking for several organizations to give these grants to. So if you're someone who might be interested in peace, who might be interested in doing your own peace project in your community, and if you have these ideas, sign up for Extremely Together Philippines, and you'll find more information there. So we also have a separate Facebook page for that. You can search that, Extremely Together Philippines, Panaghiusa. Panaghiusa is Bisaya for solidarity, unity. Ayun. Then, ako naman personally, I would like to bring you to your attention probably the work that the entire team is doing. So I talked mostly about me here, but I also want to thank my teammates from KRIS. So now we have a full-time staff consisting of 5 brilliant people. So shout out lang kay Emery, Kier, Modi, Erika. We have an Erika too, and Cedric. So thank you. Thank you guys for being an absolutely great team. Like we've had so much challenges, especially in the past year, but thank you for sticking through. And shout out as well to all our volunteers, all our donors, all the people who've supported us so far. And I hope that you stick with us for many more years kasi hindi kami mawawala, nandito lang kami.
All right. Thank you so much, Arizza. Again, I super enjoyed today's conversation and I super enjoyed learning from you, getting your perspective on peace education. So, yeah, once again, you can find KRIS for Peace on their website. They're also on social media. Thank you so much, Arizza. And I hope to meet you soon, hopefully when everything is okay. Yeah, hopefully. So, take care, Arizza, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much, Erika, and thank you, V81. This was such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. All right, so that was Arizza Nocum. Again, she is the co-founder and president for KRIS for Peace. Now, I really enjoyed today's conversation, and I hope you all enjoyed and learned also from this conversation. I learned a lot from Arizza and KRIS for Peace. It really opened my perspective on peace education. Now, it's really an important issue to tackle as well, and I know not a lot of people have the courage to, but people like KRIS for Peace, they're there to really share and educate us on what peace is about. So again, if you wanna volunteer for them or help them out or donate to them, you can check them out on their website and in their social medias. And that's it for today's episode. I really do hope you all enjoyed today's episode as much as I did. Again, we have more shows on V81 Radio. We have more shows tonight and tomorrow. Actually, I just want to take this time also to say that I will be on Saturday Night Love with DJ Robbie tonight at 9 p.m. So you can check out Saturday Night Love on Facebook and also on V81 Radio's YouTube channel, as well as Making a Difference episode. So if you want to watch my past episodes, you can find them on our YouTube channel and the Making a Difference Facebook page. All right, so that's it for today's episode. I hope you're doing well and I hope you're all staying safe. Again, just a friendly reminder, please do not forget to wear your face masks and your face shields when you head out. Please practice social distancing and proper hygiene. And yeah, that's about it. Again, thank you guys. Stay safe and I will see you next week.
The program for the millennials that will showcase young professionals' worth, aspirations, and successes in doing what they believe is right, progressive, and inclusive. Making a difference. Making a difference. Join them as they discover the path to self and societal fulfillment while making a difference. Hosted by empowered and cool millennial Erika Mison. Together with her cool millennials, they will be making a difference every Saturday, 3 p.m. Philippine time. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila. Walang kasing saya ang Paskong Pinoy. Dumaan man ang problema at pandemya, kayang-kayang lampasan basta't nagdadamayan at nagmamahalan.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Tuloy na tuloy pa rin ang Pasko dito sa V81 Radio, Manila.
Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man, ito'y mapapakinggan.